The holographic display flickered in the dimly lit command center as Daisy stared at the transmission from the Galactic Council. Her jaw tightened, knuckles white against the edge of the console. Behind her, Thor watched the same message, his expression carved from stone. "They've abandoned us," Daisy whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship's engines. "After everything we've done for them." The message was clear. Earth and its colonies were to be sacrificed. The Krellian swarm had broken through the outer defenses, and the Galactic Council had decided that humanity was expendable. Better to lose one species than risk the entire coalition. The vote had been unanimous except for the humans who hadn't been given a voice. Thor stepped forward, placing a hand on Daisy's shoulder. "They think we'll just roll over and die." She turned to face him, and he saw something in her eyes that made him step back. Not fear, but recognition. He'd seen that look before, on ancient battlefields across human history. It was the look of someone who had been pushed too far. "Send a message to all human vessels," Daisy commanded, her voice steady now. "Military, civilian, commercial, everyone. Emergency Protocol Omega." Thor's eyes widened. "Daisy, that's exactly what we need." She cut him off, moving to the central command terminal. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface with practiced precision. "The Council thinks humans are weak because we value peace. They forgot what we're capable of when we choose war." Within minutes, the response came flooding in. Over 3,000 human ships scattered across 12 sectors acknowledged the protocol. Freighters armed themselves. Science vessels became forward reconnaissance. Passenger liners transformed into mobile command centers. The human fleet was assembling, and it was assembling for vengeance. The Galactic Council had made a critical miscalculation. They had studied human history, the wars, the conflicts, the violence, and concluded that humanity was barbaric but manageable. What they failed to understand was that humans had chosen to leave that barbarism behind. They had chosen peace, cooperation, and diplomacy, but choice implied the ability to choose differently. Daisy stood on the bridge of the Defiant, the flagship of humanity's impromptu fleet. Around her, officers worked with grim efficiency. Thor coordinated with the engineering teams, pushing the ship's weapon systems beyond their recommended specifications. If they were going to make a stand, they would do it with everything they had. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from the Council," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Daisy replied. The face of Ambassador Veltrax appeared on screen, his reptilian features arranged in what passed for concern among his species. "Commander Daisy, we've detected unusual activity in your fleet formations." You must insist on nothing," Daisy interrupted, her voice cold. "You abandoned us. You left us to die. But here's what you forgot, Ambassador. Humans don't die easily. This is highly irregular. The Council's decision was for the greater good. Your greater good doesn't include us anymore," Thor interjected, moving beside Daisy. "So we'll handle this our way." The ambassador's eyes narrowed. "What do you intend to do?" Daisy leaned forward, her gaze intense. "We're going to stop the Krellian swarm without you, without your ships, without your support. And when we do, the galaxy will see exactly what humanity is capable of." She severed the connection before Veltrax could respond. The battle came swiftly. The Krellian swarm, confident after the Council's retreat, pushed hard into human space. They expected frightened refugees and token resistance. What they encountered instead was strategic brilliance born from 10,000 years of warfare. Daisy commanded from the center, her tactical mind orchestrating a deadly dance. Human ships moved in patterns the Krellians had never seen. Aggressive, unpredictable, willing to take risks that violated every conventional military doctrine. Thor's engineering modifications paid off as human weapons, initially designed for peaceful purposes, unleashed devastating firepower. The turning point came at the Arcturus station. Surrounded and outnumbered 10-1, a small human fleet executed what would later be called the Daisy Gambit. Instead of retreating, they accelerated directly into the Krellian formation, weapons blazing, using their own damaged ships as kinetic missiles. The maneuver was insane, suicidal by any rational military standard. It worked perfectly. The Krellian swarm, evolved for coordinated assault, couldn't adapt to such seemingly irrational tactics. Their collective consciousness struggled to process enemies who would sacrifice themselves so readily, so creatively. Within hours, the swarm began to falter. Within days, they were in full retreat. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The species that had been written off, abandoned by the Council, had single-handedly stopped an enemy that had devastated dozens of worlds. When the Galactic Council requested an emergency session with human representatives, Daisy and Thor stood before them, their uniforms still bearing scorch marks from battle. We underestimated you," Ambassador Veltrax admitted, his voice humbler than before. "The Council wishes to extend its apologies and reinstate—" "No," Daisy said simply. Silence fell across the chamber. "No?" Veltrax repeated. Thor stepped forward. "You betrayed us when things got difficult. You decided our lives were worth less than your own. Why would we trust you again?" Daisy's voice rang clear through the council chambers. "Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Coalition. We'll defend ourselves, trade with whoever wishes to trade with us, and forge our own path. You taught us an important lesson, Council. We don't need you. We never did." As they left the chamber, Daisy felt Thor's presence beside her. "Think they'll try to stop us?" She smiled grimly. "After what they just witnessed? They wouldn't dare." Behind them, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence, realizing too late that they hadn't just lost an ally. They'd created something far more dangerous. They'd reminded humanity why they should be feared.